Hey guys, our topic this week is a lore request from Sinister Obliteration. We'll be going over Galamoth from the original / pre-Lords of Shadow Castlevania series.
Now, Galamoth is a kind of weird character in that he appears or is referenced in a total of 5 games in the series, but 3 of those 5 games are considered non-canon, including the game in which he first appears. However, not only does the information on him strictly from the canon games amount to very little, his canonical appearances also match up, for the most part, with his non-canonical appearances in terms of motivation, abilities, and events involving his character. But it should be noted that the non-canon games in which Galamoth appears absolutely do not line up with the canonical timeline. Or at least, where they do, it creates inconsistencies which amounts to very nearly the same thing.
To begin with, Galamoth is a powerful creature with vaguely referenced abilities related to time as well as lightning. In his first appearance, he's distinctly lizard-like and even draconic, hurling electricity about as his favorite means of combat. His later appearance keeps a vaguely lizard-like look with the snout, gilded horns, and clawed feet, if you're looking for that sort of connection in the first place, but honestly, he takes on a much more Egyptian look overall. We first saw him with what looked like Anubis. We didn't even notice his lizard-like features under everything else until after discovering his original incarnation. Galamoth first appeared in a non-canon Castlevania spin-off game called, and I make no boast about being able to pronounce this correctly, Akamajo Special Boku Dracula-kun, which articles and websites tell us translates to Demon Castle Special I'm Kid Dracula, as our own translation efforts amounted to plugging it into Google Translate, which only gave us about half a translation, but that half translation matched up with what we found elsewhere, so we're hoping and assuming that that's correct. Properly translated or not, the game is a parody of the Castlevania series as a whole, playing with various tropes from the series and the like. In the game, a chippy protagonist, Kid Dracula, who is supposed to be Dracula's son, wakes up after a 10,000-year slumber to find that the evil Galamoth has stolen his father's throne, and now commands Dracula's armies of monsters. In response, Kid Dracula, hereafter referred to as KD because we find this amusing for some reason, sets out to defeat Galamoth, who is portrayed in these games as a dragon-like creature possessing predominantly lightning-based abilities. KD succeeds in defeating and vanishing Galamoth, who gives one of those classic "I'll be back for revenge" type defeat shouts while everything's going down. To Galamoth's credit, he actually does exactly that, returning again as the game's end boss in the sequel, simply entitled Kid Dracula. Prior to the events of the game, he somehow regains control of KD's forces, turning all of KD's supposedly loyal monsters against him, except Death, who sides with KD and helps him out. KD eventually defeats Galamoth for a second time at the end of the Kid Dracula game.
Galamoth is also the evil mastermind behind the events of Castlevania Judgment, the last non-canonical entry to the series in which Galamoth is referenced. In the canon Castlevania series, Dracula is, among other things, the Dark Lord of the world. What this means, in Castlevania terminology at least, is that he is the lord of all things evil. That's why he can summon demons and monsters seemingly at will, and why creatures of such power as Death himself serve him. Galamoth, powerful as he is, seeks to usurp Dracula's place as the Dark Lord, as evidenced by his first appearances in the Kid Dracula games. In Castlevania Judgment, a version of Galamoth from 10,000 years in the future, making reference to KD's 10,000 years sleep, sends one of his minions, known as the Time Reaper, back in time in an effort to slay Dracula and usurp his throne as the Lord of Evil, either 10,000 years earlier than normal, or for the first time successfully. Galamoth's exact nature and condition in the far-flung future is never discussed, and so far as we can tell for most of the game, it's only inferred that he's the big bad behind the Time Reaper, with the Time Reaper himself being the only character in the game to speak Galamoth's name, and then only upon defeat. The craziest thing about this plan is that it seems like the Time Reaper's job wasn't to defeat Dracula, but to destroy time itself, which is one of those plans that causes onlookers to scratch their head for a moment. After all, if time is destroyed, shouldn't that ripple out and affect all of time, meaning that Galamoth, assuming he somehow lived, would have nothing to rule over? Making his whole plan incredibly nonsensical. Thankfully, however, the Time Reaper and other notable characters from the Castlevania franchise did battle, eventually culminating in the Time Reaper's defeat and the preservation of the time-space continuum.
Now we move on to the canon games involving Galamoth. Castlevania Symphony of the Night was the first game after the Kid Dracula games to feature Galamoth. Judgment was released later, and he's never seen, only referenced as the guy behind things. It's here in Symphony of the Night that Galamoth gets that major, vaguely Egyptian appearance overhaul, appearing as a truly massive monster, so large in fact that he doesn't entirely fit inside the screen most of the time, with a boss fight level design allowing you to jump up onto ledges in order to allow you to hit something higher than, well, his knees. Galamoth appears as an optional boss, and according to many, he is this game's version of the hidden boss that's tougher than the end boss guy, smashing the player with a mace or kicking them across the room for massive damage, and that's when he's not simply throwing one of a few varieties of lightning at you. He serves only one real point of importance in this game, and that is that he guards the only access passage to a very powerful ability that allows the player to inflict damage on foes when using the main character's Mist Form ability. Only through this item, and thus only through Galamoth's death, can Mist Form do damage, providing a unique and powerful bonus, considering that the player is also immune to damage when using any version of the Mist Form ability.
Galamoth's final appearance is in Castlevania Aria of Sorrow. Set centuries after the events of Symphony of the Night, Aria of Sorrow's main character possesses the ability to absorb the souls of foes and gain the abilities from them in the process. Unlike Symphony of the Night, in Aria of Sorrow, Galamoth's interaction with the player is required to advance the story. Despite this fact, he's arguably just as easy to miss. Throughout the game, the player finds multiple Soul Keepers placed throughout Dracula's castle. A Soul Keeper, as one might guess by the name, is a receptacle for containing and imprisoning the souls of those who have fallen within the realm of Dracula's castle. In Aria of Sorrow, the player must find the Soul Keeper holding Galamoth's soul in order to get past the Chronomage, a magical white rabbit possessing a preoccupation with time reminiscent of a certain bunny from Alice in Wonderland. The Chronomage guards a hallway leading to one area of the castle, and whenever the player gets too close, the Chronomage stops time, then shunts the player back out the way they came. Unless that player has acquired Galamoth's soul, which grants you immunity to time-stopping effects, and thus allows the player to proceed through the area despite bunny shenanigans. We should note that due to the fact that in Aria of Sorrow, Galamoth's soul is in a Soul Keeper, he has either been there since you defeated him in Symphony of the Night, or he fought and lost against Dracula at some point in between.
And that's basically Galamoth. Pseudo-time-traveling Dark Lord wannabe, and weirdly powerful character straddling the line between canon and non-canon existence. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave us a like, and if you have ideas for videos you'd like to see us do in the future, do like Sinister Obliteration, and let us know in the comments down below. If you'd like to see more videos from us in the future, be they lore or Let's Play, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
In the meantime, this has been True Masters and Morons, signing off.
Thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like it, hit this subscribe orb.
To see our last Let's Play, click or tap the link on the right.
For our last lore video, go to the link on the left.
And for a video chosen by the gods of YouTube from our channel, hit that link on top.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.